Hello and welcome to the beginning of another year on Politics East Midlands. A new year, a new set of guests, although all have graced our sofa before. Toby Perkins, the Labour MP for Chesterfield, while Reform UK's Charlotte Hill is in charge of potholes, highways and transport at Derbyshire County Council. And next to her, Michael Mullaney, leader of the Liberal Democrat group on Leicestershire County Council. Welcome to you all. Next to the tragic subject of young student lives lost to suicide and whether universities can and should do more to stop them happening. This week, MPs will discuss the issue in a Westminster Hall debate put forward by the Nottinghamshire Labour MP James Naish. Now, James was prompted by the campaign of two of his Rushcliffe constituents, Maggie and Bob Abrahart. Their daughter, Natasha, took her own life in 2018, and the Abraharts later won a civil ruling against Bristol University, stating that the organisation contributed to her death by discriminating against her. Maggie and Bob are now part of a group called For the 100, which believes that there should be a new law to force universities to have a duty of care to students.
8 years since we lost Natasha, and we hear the same things are still going on, and we hear from other families, and that's kind of re-traumatising to some extent. But the whole thought that this is still happening, we need something positive to change so that universities actually do look after their students.
We lose 160 students to suicide every year at universities in England and Wales. This has to be taken seriously, not just by the universities, but by Parliament.
Now, Universities UK say that they already put significant resource into helping students with their mental health. They say they have a general duty of care, and they don't actually believe that a statutory duty is necessary. And that was actually the view of the last Conservative government, the last time this was debated in Parliament 3 years ago. Toby, is it going to change under this relatively new Labour government?
Well, I think that James is raising a really important issue, and we'll see how that debate goes. I don't think there's a plan to sort of change the statutory responsibilities yet. I mean, we don't just have a student suicide problem, we have a suicide problem in this country. I think students are actually less likely to commit suicide than those who haven't been to university of the same age. But clearly at that age, it's a very tough time for many young people finding their way in the world. And universities are well placed to provide the support. So we don't want other families to go through the tragic experience that Maggie and Bob have done. So I think their campaign is absolutely important, and we need to make sure that universities are doing all they possibly can to support those vulnerable young people in their trust.
Mike, what's your view on this? Would a Liberal Democrat government look at changing the law on this, do you think?
I think certainly it's something we should look at. I mean, it's absolutely tragic situation what happened to Natasha and her family, and an awful situation. And we do need to do something to reduce the level of suicide, because it has gone up. It is the biggest single killer of young men. There's a real serious issue of an epidemic of suicide and also of mental ill health problems. And there are still long waits for talking therapies and other things to help people through mental ill health. So I think also improvements to NHS provision for mental health is vital as well, because far too many people are waiting too long to get the support they need.
And Charlotte, probably fair to say you were the person who's got the closest experience of being to university of those sitting around the studio at the moment. What was the care like that you received at university? Do you feel like this is an issue that needs to be talked about more?
Yeah, well, I was a student during the COVID years as well, so I have first-hand experience actually of the lack of support that universities do offer. And I think from a young age, moving from sixth form to university is such a big change. But we are seeing increasing numbers of young people citing that they've got anxiety now. And for me, graduating university only 3 years ago, it's no wonder that they're citing such big anxiety numbers. When you step out into the real world and you've got sky-high rent, the average age of a first-time buyer is now 37 years old, and you're competing in a highly competitive graduate job market. So it's really daunting out there as a young student, and you think, well, is university really worth it? So for me, as an ambassador for construction in South Derbyshire, I have worked closely with lots of different schools to encourage encourage young people to consider different avenues and apprenticeships and trade colleges, so that we're not just being forced down the university route all the time if that's not what's best for the students.
This is actually something the government's doing as well, actually. Keir Starmer announced at Labour conference, didn't he, last year, that fewer people would be going to university.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's sensible to recognise there's just as much value in an apprenticeship as there is in a university degree. But I think, just returning to the subject of suicide, it is absolutely the case that we need the NHS to be responding. That's why we had the £680 million increase in mental health provision, above inflation increase. But that is just the start of it. We have got a suicide crisis. I'm really pleased to see the government prioritising men's health and recognising that, as Michael says, the most likely way to die under the age of 50 as a young man is at your own hands. And so we need to address those issues that are causing so many young men to take their own lives.
Yeah, a particular issue at this time of the year, of course, as well. When some students,
many students, a week on Monday when the largest number of suicides. So it's a really important issue for all of us to be aware of in our communities, looking out for our friends and family.
OK, we'll have to move on.